Put some respect on Saddiq Bey's name. 42 points, 14 in the fourth, and every clutch possession just felt like his. For the Pelicans, he's spacing the court, bullying mismatches, bringing a level of physicality they need, and he just cemented himself as a core player. It's Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Here with you on this Friday, day after the Pelicans beat the Utah Jazz, run their winning streak up to 3 in a row, but it is Saddiq Bey who is the story. 42 points, closing this game out in exactly the fashion the Pelicans needed. He's been awesome all year. He's a core player going forward. I'll tell you why in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. Becoming every day means you listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast. If you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below. You can also watch us on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network every weekday at 10:30 a.m. Same place you watch your Pelicans play. Did you watch the game last night? Because if you didn't, you missed out on Saddiq Bey being absolutely awesome. Saddiq Bey just cemented himself as a core player for the Pelicans going forward. And we could point to this game in particular, but it's not just this. Yeah, the 42 points, great. 14 points in the fourth quarter when the Pelicans were almost trying to give this game to the Utah Jazz. The Pelicans scored 26 points. Saddiq Bey had more than half of that with 14, just calming the Pelicans down. Utah was going on runs as New Orleans was getting a little bit more lackadaisical than you would like. They went a little bit cold in the fourth quarter, but when you needed a bucket just to settle this team down and to kind of turn momentum away from the Utah Jazz, it was Saddiq Bey who did it. This is someone who's just done that all year long. Whether it's his physicality, and we'll touch on that in a second, whether it's the three-point shooting, this has been maybe the most consistent and the most reliable player on the team this year. And you even heard James Borrego talk about Saddiq Bey kind of glowingly, how this is the guy they need to go to because he's that vet who's experienced a lot, who just settles things down when this team gets a little bit wound up. And we'll talk more about that in the next segment here. He was awesome in this game. 42 points on 20 shot attempts. That's incredible. 5 of 9 from 3. 9 of 9 from the free throw line. 5 rebounds, 7 assists. They were running their offense through him a lot. And he just looked phenomenal in this one, playing 34 minutes. And he's done this all year long. He's done this all year long. He's up to over 17 points per game now this season. He started, he's come off the bench, but 17 points, 6 rebounds, 2.4 assists, while shooting above 35% from 3, along with good enough defense. I don't think he's an elite defender, but good enough defense. Yeah, I'll take that. But when you look at how he plays and the way that they use him, particularly with his physicality, he's a big dude. That's what this team needs because many of the guys they have kind of lack that. Derik Queen is not physical. DeJounte Murray is not physical. Jeremiah Fears, not a physical player. Zion is. Herb Jones isn't, at least not offensively. But all of a sudden now you have a guy where you can just toss him the ball, go one-on-one with his defender and use that muscle, use his size, his strength in an isolation situation and go and get a bucket. This is why he's regularly been clutch for New Orleans. You just trust this guy in a one-on-one situation with his back to the basket, backing guys up to be able to go and score. You don't have that many players that can kind of play that kind of game. And as you've seen now, when he starts doing that, he'll draw the double team, and he's a smart enough player to make the correct read, kick the ball out, and get it where it needs to go. He was awesome in this. He's been awesome all year long. And for someone who's going to make $6.4 million next year, we talked about this around the trade deadline. You know, what he gives you on his contract, which is what it is because of injuries and other things like that in his career, that contract is not enough, right? Clearly, for the type of production he gives you. He's very valuable to a contender to get that kind of production on that cheap of a contract. Well, the Pelicans want to be contenders next year. They want to be a playoff team next year. You need to keep a Saddiq Bey on your roster then. If you're going to go for it, which it sounds like they are, then you do need to keep Saddiq Bey, and he needs to be a core guy going forward because you're not going to just find another player like this. You'll get him for one more year cheaper. Then he is extension eligible, and I would not be shocked if they work on that this offseason for him. We'll cover that a little bit closer to that time. But clearly, he's a Troy Weaver guy. Weaver drafted him, brought him with him to Washington, and now brought him here to New Orleans. Weaver thinks very highly of Saddiq Bey. I would like to point this out because I like this. In the year that he was drafted, I had him going 13th to the Pelicans. When we were doing our mock draft and Locked On, I had him at 13 going to the Pelicans. He went 19 a couple picks later, but I really, really liked him that year. I like Villanova players a lot. I think they tend to be NBA ready. Wanted Saddiq Bey at 13. I didn't think he was going to reach this kind of level, though. He's had multiple, I think this is his fourth or fifth 30-plus point game this season. That's how consistent and good he has been for New Orleans this year. This was a truly impressive performance, and more than just the scoring, it's the way he closed it out for New Orleans. Just being that reliable kind of guy that can go and get you a bucket. The teammates love him too. He's also got that dog in him. Like he's a guy that's willing to get out there and getting confrontations with opponents and all of that, but not be dumb enough to get baited or things like that. But Saddiq Bey is a core guy going forward, I think, for this team. And look, if New Orleans wants to make a splashy move in the offseason, you don't include Saddiq Bey in that because you're going to bring more salary back. It's going to hurt your books. You're not going to have a ton of room. Saddiq Bey's not going to take up a ton of room next year. That's what's so great about him, that if you want to be a playoff team, you need guys like this on contracts like this, and you are getting that from Saddiq Bey. That is a big box checked off. That is a big reason why, in addition to the play, that Saddiq Bey is a core piece going forward. You could trade Zion potentially. You can't get rid of a Saddiq Bey kind of guy with what his value is, with everything he gives. You know, defensively, I'd like to see he just kind of is who he is. I think he's a fine enough defender. I don't view him as elite. He doesn't need to be elite. You're just looking for guys to simply just be okay enough. And I think he definitely does that. He's slightly above like neutral as a defender. So as long as you're not bad, I don't know, I can live with that. He's not there getting tons of blocks, tons of steals. He's physical enough to keep guys out of the paint. I think that's kind of important. And what he's giving you right now offensively with the versatility that he has, the three-point shooting, all of that, yeah, exactly what this Pelicans team needs. Let me know what you thought about Saddiq Bey in this game down in the comments below. So coming up next, I'm going to give you an explanation in the next segment that might make you laugh. We get to talk about the games again. Like the intricacies of the games again. And that's not something we've actually done for a month or two here on Locked On Pelicans. I'll tell you why we're going back to doing that, why we're going to break down this win over the Utah Jazz and pretty specific things. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by DoorDash. The season is just really starting to heat up, especially here in New Orleans, and DoorDash is a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. So whether you're watching highlights, the tunnel fits, just your favorite player, might be Saddiq Bey right now, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. Saddiq Bey's got a deep one here. And with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. So there are nights when you're going to be stressed out from the Pelicans, like this fourth quarter. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. You want to watch those late night interviews? You need chips at midnight? DoorDash is built exactly for that. So from tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, even gear, whatever's going to get you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first win. Wow. Your first listen. Pelicans got a good win, third win though. Your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. If you just want to get excited about what the Pelicans are doing here, there's going to be a lot of tanking and the Pelicans are not going to be doing that. Join the Everydayer Club. So not only are you going to get ad-free audio for Locked On Pelicans, you're going to get access to a members-only Discord server, which has a group chat just for Locked On Pelicans listeners, but also our NBA, or just league-wide NBA chat you can join. Go pump up Saddiq Bey in that chat. You can find more information in the show notes down below. So let's actually look at this Jazz game. One of the things that I kind of hate about how this season has gone and how it's gone in the past for New Orleans is you hit a certain point in the year and the games don't matter, right? It's more about the big picture for the team, for the squad. And you kind of lose sight of some of the day to day when you're 15 and 40 something, you have, say, a draft pick, you're focused on the draft. That's the big thing, right? You want to be losing games. So how they play doesn't really matter. Well, the Pelicans are trying to win. They're trying to get to the play-in tournament and get into the postseason. So because they're doing that, and while it won't be easy and the margin for error is really slim, the Pelicans do have a chance at the play-in tournament. The games matter. And when that margin for error is that slim, the games kind of matter more in breaking down what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, what worked, what didn't, what went wrong, why they lost a game, how they won a game. All of that becomes kind of heightened and more important. We got to watch these games really closely all of a sudden. That's exciting to me. I haven't been able to do that for a couple of months here, it feels like. So not only is the story Saddiq Bey playing exceptionally well, it's what did they do to win this game and get up by as many in this game as 27 points they had a lead. Why did it go away too, is what we're going to look at here. So I did think this was a good win despite a lot of the flaws for New Orleans. You saw a very smart offensive scheme here in this one that kind of really knew what Utah was going to try and do. This was a well-coached game from James Borrego here. And while you don't want to read too much into it, like the Jazz are putrid, right? They're still who you're going to play, and there's guys that are going to go out and compete in this one. Cody Williams didn't care that this season is over as he tried to dunk over everybody, right? Ace Bailey is a highly touted rookie that wants to make a name for himself in the league. Bryce Sensabaugh, 20 points off the bench, wants to earn minutes in a role on this squad going forward and have a job in the future, right? Kevin Love is just the ultimate competitor who's going to go out and play. So you don't want to completely hand wave this away. There's value in this. And some of the things I saw in this game I thought were pretty interesting. Going back to James Borrego and the offensive scheme here, I thought they used Zion Williamson in this game really, really well. He only had 20 points on the night. You might look at this and kind of be like, oh, it's a bit of a subdued game from him. Quiet game. He just didn't have it going, couldn't really get to the line, only 3 trips. So there you go. But he was a plus 15 for a reason. They were not using him as a decoy in this game, but they were taking very much advantage of the court gravity that he has. When he got the ball in the post, you saw Utah doubling him every single time, essentially. And when he realized that, he made the right read, kicked the ball out, and got this offense moving. The Pelicans ran out to a 27-point lead, one, because the Jazz are bad, but also because they were passing the ball around exceptionally well. They had 46 makes and 37 assists. That's ball movement in action here. That is not just isolation basketball. That's everyone playing their role. That's a double team happening. That's the defense all of a sudden now rotating when you move the ball, creating an advantage till you find the open man. That is passing up good shots for great shots. You saw that from the team in this one, and it kind of centered around Zion Williamson. 20 points on 15 shot attempts, still pretty good. He was 9 for 15. He was active on defense in this one in a way that we haven't quite seen, with 4 steals, 1 block as well. He was overall fantastic. The scoring wasn't there, but they didn't need him to do that. The way you were going to beat this Utah Jazz team was not with Zion Williamson going for 40, going for 50 points, but spreading the love and making life really easy for a Saddiq Bey, for DeJounte Murray, who scored 17 points in this one because the lane was open because 2 guys were glued to Zion Williamson. You know, the Utah Jazz, when they turned it over, New Orleans was out there trying to run and trying to kick the ball ahead. They were trying to kind of play pretty fast anyway and move the ball and get it up the court, even after makes. They were trying to kind of be who they want to be, in a sense. And that seemed to really work in this game for the New Orleans Pelicans. So I was pretty happy with what we saw in the use of Zion Williamson. I thought was pretty creative and pretty smart. These games, these series where you have 2 in a row against an opponent get kind of interesting because this is where the chess match comes in. What adjustments are going to be made? Now, if they overcorrect to Saddiq Bey, does that open things up for Zion? Like, does Zion have the big game, or maybe a big game early on, the first half of the next game, because they're so worried about Saddiq Bey, you kind of forget about Zion, or you can only commit to so many people. And then as they make it a halftime adjustment for the Utah Jazz, then it opens up Zion in the second half. You could absolutely see that. His court gravity, though, was really getting guys going here. I just like the energy overall from the team in this one. There were moments where it felt like the tempo and pace of this game got him a little wound up, and I think that contributed to the 18 turnovers that they had in this game. But turnovers have not been a problem for this team under James Borrego over the past 2-3 months or so. They are top 5 in terms of not turning the ball over. I think this was one where, hey, we're up, we're playing real fast. The Jazz wanted to play real fast too. And you see that tempo up. Look, more passes means more chances for mistakes. That's all right, especially when you're up 27. You can be a little bit loose. I don't hate that sort of thing. And when you look at this fourth quarter with Utah climbing back in it, look, this is why you build up in your 30-point lead. You're going to take your foot off the gas somewhat. That happens literally regularly in the NBA. I'm not overly worried about it here. You know, some of those turnovers, 6 of them were DeJounte Murray. He's still getting back into the swing of things. You could see the timing was off with him and some of the other guys. The rhythm wasn't quite there. You know, that's going to be fine. He'll get that back in time. He doesn't tend to be a guard historically that turns it over a ton. His beginning tenure with New Orleans last year, yes, he did. So this is something to watch with him. But he also near put up a double-double with 17 points and 9 assists in this one. He was kind of in command of the offense, and the ball was just moving. Herb Jones, 6 assists. You don't get to 37 assists on 46 makes by accident. Moving the ball like that was really good. The turnover's kind of part of that. I'm not overly worried about it. What did worry me was 2 things. You definitely saw them be a little too lackadaisical at times on defense. They don't have good off-ball awareness. The back, their back is to their defender. They don't realize when those guys cut whatsoever. And it leads to too many just easy buckets, points in the paint. 54 for the Utah Jazz in this game. New Orleans really could have done a lot to kind of cut that out. You'll survive against the Utah Jazz, against a better team, even against the Clippers, against the Lakers. That might not end up being the case here. And those are some games that are coming up on their schedule here. You know, rebounding is also still going to be a problem. 24-second points. I'm talking too fast. The pace, the tempo of Locked On Pelicans getting to me, right? So those turnovers, understandable. The rebounding was still a struggle. That's not something that's really going to change on the team this year, and that will hurt them at some point. Again, you can do this against the Utah Jazz, but giving up 24 second chance points on 15 offensive boards definitely is not going to do it. You know, you saw the front court for the Utah Jazz really kind of doing that pretty well. Filipowski with 4, even John Konchar is playing guard for them, right? 4 offensive rebounds. You can't let everyone just kind of get one and reset the offense and then get more points. They're working hard enough already defensively where they're not particularly great even still. Doing this is only going to kill you even more. Those are the 2 areas. You can clean up the defensive awareness issues. I don't know if you can do much about the defensive rebounding, but improve where you can improve. And I'm not worried about the turnovers in this game. Coming up next, let's look at the performances from the rookies. It's worth watching them, even as the Pelicans are competing. We'll look at Fears and Queen coming up. Not great games from them. I'll explain what happened. That's here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by 5 Hour Energy with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. So if we're doing a 5 Hour Energy flavor draft, fruity rainbow might be the number one overall pick. It's just like a blend of assorted candy flavors, sweet, layered fruit notes in every sip of it. It's just kind of fun. It's got that nostalgic candy bag flavor. It's going to make you feel like you're a kid again. And it's got a sweet, colorful finish. It's going to linger a little bit and give you the caffeine you need. But don't forget, I think this is a slept-on flavor. If you want an underrated one, just grape. Concord grape flavor, similar to grape juice or grape candy here. It's consistent. It's straightforward. You know what you're going to get. That classic purple candy style and finish is awesome. I love 5 Hour Energy beyond the flavors because there's zero sugar. Get the boost you need with no sugar. I've cut sugar almost like completely out as much as I can. I won't drink a thing with it. This is why I drink 5 Hour Energy instead of those sugary energy drinks. And there's a lot more upcoming flavors, so they're going to have new ones out constantly, and it just gives you the boost you need while tasting good. So find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, especially for a playoff push. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part always hasn't been so simple. So that's why Game Time has become the go-to ticketing app for scoring tickets fast. Without the hassle, it's going to give you, the fan, the advantage back. I love Game Time because you can get tickets locked within minutes, and I love seeing the all-in price up front. No surprise fees at checkout. And if you're going to a new venue you've never been to, maybe you're watching the Pelicans on the road, you can see the view from your seat before buying. It means you're going to be more confident in the purchase that you make. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the number one Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well and become an everydayer. Means you listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast. If you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below. For your second listen, it's Locked On Saints. Ross Jackson making sense of everything he sees over at the Combine, giving you the latest 40 times, all of that, and the inside scoop on who the Saints should draft. Make Locked On Saints your second listen today. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast network. All right, let's wrap up talking about the Pelicans' 129-118 win over the Utah Jazz. Let's look at the rookies. First thing to note here, minutes were down. You want to win. These are just not... These young guys aren't there to deliver that just yet. Even against a bad team like the Utah Jazz, you see why rookies don't help you win. Jeremiah Fears, I thought, had a good first half. He was really consistent. There were a couple not great turnovers from him, but overall, he looked really good in the first half, making threes, getting and ones, getting downhill, attacking the basket, dishing out assists, which have improved from him. Even a little bit active on the defensive side of the ball. You saw him with one steal and a near second steal as well. And then in the second half, he went pretty quiet. He had 12 points in the first half, no points in the second half, only played in this one 22 minutes. He was a -5 on the night. The Pelicans were up 27. To have a -5 kind of says what your impact on the court is right now. Again, these guys will be fine long term, but if they're going to make a playoff push, you will see their minutes be a little bit limited. And I worry that someone like a Jordan Poole or Jordan Hawkins might start getting those minutes away from a guy like Jeremiah Fears, which frankly, no, should not happen. And maybe they won't because both those guys have been worse than Fears, I think, overall this year. But at a certain point, the coaching staff is going to find themselves in a close game. They're going to need a guard, and it's not going to be Fears. Bryce McGowan's, right? Two-way contract player, not the 7th overall pick. almost 31 minutes in this one. He was pretty good, actually. He's been good, and the defense is there, and they need that from him. Derik Queen was even more concerning in this game. -6, 2 of 7 from the field, 7 total points, 7 rebounds, just 1 assist. His defense is just bad. You know, he's not the worst defender in the league or anything like that, but it's not good enough. When you watch him play, you question his effort on the defensive side of the ball, which is disappointing. You know, this was kind of a knock on him going into the draft was, you know, his motor and all of that. That was a big question mark and a reason why guys, you know, draft people and look, front offices too, didn't love him. Yeah, the offensive skill is there, but you can also see he's hitting a bit of a rookie wall. Now, he didn't have a training camp. He didn't have the same offseason as some of these other guys with the injury to his hand. But, 2 of 7, just seeing his impact kind of go down on a game-by-game basis. 20 minutes in this one. You had Carlo Makovic closing the game out. And Makovic was fine, I thought. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 blocks. He comes over with those weak side blocks and can be pretty good with that. But it's the 7th overall pick getting outplayed by a guy who's been in and out of a rotation for a couple of years. That's not ideal to see. This is the battle that this team is going to have. If you want to really make a push next year, you're going to need more than DeAndre Jordan and Carlo Makovic at center and Derik Queen. They're going to need to really analyze that center position this offseason and see what they can do. But then it makes you wonder why you would have invested all of that in Derik Queen in the first place. This is why people did not like that trade for a variety of reasons here. Queen will be fine. I do think he has the ability to be a good defender in the league, but it's just not there right now. Both the rookies really struggled in this one, despite the good first half from Jeremiah Fears. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. Saddiq Bey, y'all. Wow, he looked good. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. This is the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. See y'all on Monday.